drugs. We also have here food addiction, which isn't always recognized. You know, people will struggle with their weight their whole life or be obese and not realize that they may have an addiction that they're struggling with. Computer gaming is something that's just taken hold recently, where people lose hours and weeks and months to this other virtual reality. And then there's gambling. Gambling is a serious, serious addiction. It's the highest suicide rate comes from gamblers because there's so much at stake. They've lost their homes, the trust of their families. So it's something that needs attention for sure.
So I mean, these are great visual markers, because I mean, I'm sure a lot of people can say, and you know, I can say, I turn to the, you know, deep fried donuts when I'm hungry. I like a glass of wine, but how do you not get that into sort of an addictive mode?
Well, this is it. So addiction is using a substance, a mood-altering substance, despite its adverse effects, or a mood-altering behavior like shopping, even though it's having devastating effects on your life. And you want to stop, but you can't. And that's the difference. I've often heard alcoholics talk about when they first got into drinking and how great it was, and it was liquid courage, and then it turned a corner. And it became a dependency, and I had to have it. And then it turned into hell, where they didn't want to, but were compelled to. So, you know, the reason some people become addicted and others is a very difficult question to answer. There's the biological factor, there's social and environmental contributors that lead to dependency. But the truth is, once someone becomes an addict, the reason is inconsequential. It's an incurable disease, it's progressive, and it wreaks havoc on the lives of their loved ones and themselves.
So Sandra, when people, you know, come in and they approach you, is your clientele more people who are recovering from these types of issues, or who are, you know, deep-seated in these issues? Because it can be sort of hard to get them out, right?
Yeah. So usually it's not the most far gone addicts. It's usually you're getting into that dependency stage. You know it's a problem. You're not sure what to do. You haven't come to terms with the fact that you're actually powerless over this substance. And so I'm not the answer. I'm absolutely not the answer, but I am that coach or that guide that can lead you down that road. And I think it comes from a real deep understanding that the addict, as much as the loved one suffers and the family suffers, no one suffers more than the addict. And that's not always recognized. People aren't very empathetic with addicts.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, most of society might look at those people and say, you've done this to yourself, you can get out of it, why can't you get out of it?
That's right. I believe people look at it through a lens of their own experience. So like you said, you can enjoy a couple of glasses of wine and be totally fine with that.
I can stop myself.
You can so why can't the addict? What's wrong with him? Well, it's different. His makeup is different. He takes that one drink and a craving sets in and a mental obsession sets in, and he's off to the races. And I think one of the most misunderstood are the compulsive overeaters, because someone might look at someone overweight and think, well, why aren't you at the gym? You know, I would love to be a glutton, but I use restraint. Why can't you? And the truth is, it goes so much deeper than that.
I mean, especially with your personal journey, did you hear a lot of your friends or family talking about it? You know, why can't you just get out of it?
Absolutely. Just, you know what, maybe if you joined a gym, that would help. And I just thought, you have no idea how incredibly depressed I am. Joining a gym is just not going to fix it. The work had to come from the inside out. One of the main drivers of addiction is pain. People are looking to escape the pain that they're in. And it's said that the moment you start using a substance to cope with life, you stop maturing emotionally. Which makes perfect sense to me if you think about it.
It's a roadblock, right?
Yeah, you're just, so, you know, you can take an alcoholic who has a blow-up fight with his wife. He leaves and goes and gets good and drunk. He's not learning to fight fair. He's not learning to communicate. He's just getting out of there. And with the binge eater whose boyfriend broke up with her, she's spending the night binging instead of working on her self-esteem, reaching out to a network of people. So life is always going to present us with some heartaches and some disappointments. And those are really opportunities to learn life skills and coping mechanisms.
So how do you become your client's champion and coach? I mean, because some people may need that 24-hour
Absolutely.
assistance.
I absolutely agree with you. I'm a huge fan of 12-step programs. I have been witness to miraculous things that happen in those programs. There's, you know, Alcoholics Anonymous, which is very common. There's Compulsive Overeaters Anonymous. There's Food Addicts Anonymous.
Groups that can help.
Yes. So I think that, you know, with a drug addict or an alcoholic, they need to go to rehab and dry out. They need to come at a place where they're completely willing to do something different.
Well, that seems like there's the key right there, right? Yeah. You have to be willing to take that step and to be accountable.
That's right, yes.
So,
and to know the truth about what is actually happening. The truth that you perhaps cannot take these substances anymore. There's no more playing around. Maybe I'll have a little bit, or maybe moderation. Maybe I'll be a normal drinker one day.
And it takes time. I mean, for you, it took time.
Yes.
Every client that you see, different?
Absolutely, absolutely. I would say it's so many different factors of, you know, family support. What have they lost? Have they hit rock bottom? If you haven't hit rock bottom, you may not be willing.
You may not know that pain. You may not know that suffering.
Yeah, unfortunately, pain is a huge driver of change.
So when we come back, I know we'll talk more about life coaching. We'll talk more about, I guess, methods that you can take on to live your better life, right?
That's right.
Okay, so stay tuned. More on In the Know when we come back. Welcome back to In the Know. Tonight is all about living your best life. And don't forget, our phone lines are open for your questions and comments. So Sandra, we are going to talk about the mental diet. Because we've been talking a lot about the nutrition and the weight loss and the physical side. Yes. The mental.
A mental diet. So I really believe that if you change the way you think, you change your life. But first you have to become aware of what you're thinking. So I challenge everyone tonight to go on a mental diet. And you know, it's that time of year when we're bombarded with the latest diet trends. I really ask viewers to think about, what are you feeding your mind? The mental diet is dieting at a level that's so much more profound and far-reaching.
Mm-hmm.
I first heard of this concept from a book, Around the
Yes.
Year, with Emmett Fox, and it's a book of daily reading.
You brought this in. You wanted to.
Yes, and it's a worn-out copy, and the pages are falling out.
It seems like it's been read a lot.
For over a decade, and I'm so proud of that. That really, to me, means I've tried to digest it and live it. I love this book. It has a daily reading for each day. It's sometimes how I start my meditation. I can't say enough good things about it. And so Emmett talks about the food that you furnish your mind with determines the character of your life. And so everything in your life today, the state of your body, the state of your home, the state of your career, is a result of your habitual thinking. And the state of your life a week from now, a year from now, is determined by what you're thinking today. So in other words, you're choosing your life.
I mean, that's a big concept to sort of get your head around, because you know, many people today, there are a million things running through your head. How do you tell, you know, the people you meet and your clients to, you know, really concentrate on important things? Because that is easier said than done, I would say.
Sure. And it's really about realizing that everything that I have, the good and the bad in my life today, is something that I attracted. And that was a very difficult truth for me in 2002 when things were absolutely out of control. I had to really come to terms with, I created that life with what I was thinking and attracting. But the great news is that I can attract something completely different from that today. You know, to give you a very simple example, if I decide for the next couple of hours to really dwell on everything that's wrong in my life, that could possibly go right, you know what? My whole presence will change. It's a presence of darkness, of being closed, of just having my head down. And what am I repelling? What opportunities are not going to come to me in that way? And, you know, if I switch that and I come from a place of gratitude and openness and positiveness, my presence changes, right? I can admit a light, the possibilities flow. And that's just a small example.
So keeping those mantras up, like you were saying earlier in the show.
Yes.
Do you really need to repeat that every day?
No, over time it becomes ingrained in you. So here's the thing, we can't really control the first thought that comes into our minds. It's very difficult, but you get to decide if you're going to dwell on it or expel it. And so a great analogy is you can be sitting by a fire and a hot ash lands on your sleeve. If you flick it away really quickly, no harm done. If you let it sit there and you nurse it, and you're going to be in big trouble. That's going to burst out into flames. And so it is with negative thinking, right? It can come in, you can expel it very quickly. And so, you know, how do we begin a mental diet? It's definitely not easy. Getting into the practice.
So you set the challenge out there to our viewers.
Yes, I've set it out.
Well, what's the first step then?
Right. So first step is observing the thoughts that actually come into your mind. And when they are not positive, constructive, or kind, expelling it. Or one of my favorite strategies that I enjoy even more than that is flipping it to a gratitude, flipping it to a positive.
How do you do that? Because it's easy to just, okay, let's not think about it and brush it to the side.
And then you're thinking about it,
but you're still,
because you've just said don't think about it. So here, I'll give you an example. I can wake up in the morning and think, oh, you know what, my thighs aren't what they should be. Well, I can switch that to, thank you. I'm so grateful to have strong legs that carry me, allow me to jog, dance, wear 4-inch heels. I feel blessed. And the truth is, both of those statements are 100% true. One of them is going to serve me really well and change my outlook, and one is going to bring me down. And so that's thought selection, right?
Every aspect of your life. My career is not going, I'm not making, you know, as much money as I want.
Right.
How do you change that?
So it could be that it's an abundance. I can have whatever I want. I can pursue that career. So it's not about lying to yourself at all. So if your career is unfulfilling, I can change this, you know. Yes, I can. If you think that, you're right. And if you think you can't, you're right. Both of them are right.
Well, even with your experience, I mean, we're talking about, you know, back many years ago, you knew when you hit rock bottom that life coaching is what your passion really was?
When I came through the other side, yes, and I had worked through this process on many different levels, I thought, I think I have something to share. This didn't happen for no reason. I think that my failures and my way out could serve other people.
So what's the takeaway message then when it comes to the mental diet, Sandra?
So I would say that for the next 7 days, focus on things that are positive, expel the negative, and when you know you have that thought, you can turn it around to a gratitude very easily.